My golden child sister tried to ruin my big day. Now she's paying for it literally. They tell you that your wedding day will be a blur of joy, cake, and dancing. Nobody tells you it might also be the day you watch your own sister torpedo her life over a massive glass of cheap Merlot. If you had told me a year ago that my wedding reception would end with my younger sister screaming on the floor in a puddle of red wine, clutching a ruined $4,000 designer gown she planned to fraudulently return the next day, I would have thought you were insane. But then again, you probably don't know my sister, Chloe. They say karma is a mirror, but in my experience, karma is an industrial-grade videographer's cable hiding in plain sight. Chloe was the classic golden child of our family. 3 years younger than me, she never heard the word no growing up. My parents weren't malicious people, just perpetually exhausted by her theatrics. Whenever she threw a tantrum, they gave in just to keep the peace in the house. I learned early on to simply stay out of her way and build my own life. That avoidance strategy worked perfectly fine until I met Maya. Maya is everything Chloe isn't: self-made, intensely grounded, and fiercely independent. Maya grew up in a working-class neighborhood in Chicago, paid her own way through college by working grueling double shifts at a local diner, and eventually built an incredibly successful boutique marketing firm from the ground up. Chloe, on the other hand, is an aspiring lifestyle influencer whose primary source of income is the bank of mom and dad. From the very first moment I introduced them, Chloe's jealousy was a living, breathing entity in the room. She hated that Maya didn't worship her. She hated that I was prioritizing someone else. But most of all, she hated that Maya was genuinely successful and respected, while Chloe was just pretending to be. Over the 4 years Maya and I dated, Chloe's microaggressions were relentless. She would accidentally spill coffee dangerously close to Maya's work laptop. She would make backhanded compliments about Maya's clothes, suggesting with a sickly sweet smile that her style was so bravely thrifted. Maya, being the absolute class act that she is, usually killed her with kindness or just gracefully ignored it. I didn't. I pulled Chloe aside multiple times, setting firm boundaries, which always ended in her crying to our parents that I was being cruel and unsupportive. My parents would immediately call me, begging me to just be the bigger person, reciting the classic enablers mantra. I always told them my priority was Maya, full stop. The tension finally reached a boiling point when I proposed. Chloe didn't even say congratulations. She just asked how much the engagement ring cost and sneered when I refused to tell her. Fast forward to the wedding planning. Maya found her absolute dream wedding dress. It was a masterpiece of delicate ivory silk and vintage French lace, entirely custom fitted, costing right around $12,000. She paid for it entirely herself, treating it as a gift to herself for years of relentless hard work and saving. It was breathtaking, but it was also incredibly fragile. Chloe, refusing to be outshined at an event that wasn't even hers, went out and bought a floor-length, heavily beaded, champagne-colored gown that looked suspiciously like a bridal dress. It cost $4,000. Here's the kicker: Chloe couldn't actually afford it. Our parents, finally feeling the financial strain of her lifestyle, had cut off her credit cards a few months prior. Her brilliant, foolproof plan: she was going to keep the large cardboard retail tags tucked safely inside the bodice, wear the dress for the night to get glamorous photos for her Instagram feed, and then return it the next day claiming she never wore it. She actually bragged about this retail hack to one of our cousins after a few drinks at the rehearsal dinner, and my cousin immediately pulled me aside to warn me. The wedding day itself started off flawlessly. The ceremony was perfect. When Maya walked down the aisle, I swear the rest of the world just melted away into background noise. For those 30 minutes, Chloe and her drama didn't exist. The reception was held in a gorgeous, rustic chic renovated barn with polished hardwood floors and high beam ceilings. The lighting was moody and romantic, with string lights and candles everywhere. It was a spectacular setup, but practically speaking, it meant the perimeter of the dance floor was crisscrossed with heavy-duty black gaffer-taped cables powering the DJ's sound system and the videographer's extensive lighting equipment. As the night wore on, I deliberately kept one eye on my sister. She had been drinking steadily since the cocktail hour. A dark scowl plastered on her face as she sat in the corner, watching Maya laugh, mingle, and dance with our friends. Around 10 p.m., the atmosphere was incredibly relaxed, the formal speeches were over, and people were just having fun. Maya was standing near the edge of the dance floor, happily chatting with her bridesmaids. I was about 20 feet away, getting a glass of water at the bar, when I saw the nightmare begin to unfold in agonizing slow motion. Chloe marched up to the bar, bypassed the bartender completely, and grabbed a massive, oversized goblet from a nearby abandoned centerpiece. She grabbed a bottle of the venue's house red wine and filled the goblet straight to the brim. It must have been an entire bottle's worth of dark red liquid. Her eyes were locked dead on Maya's back. I knew exactly what she was doing. It was the oldest trick in the toxic playbook, the classic accident. She was going to stumble, drench Maya's $12,000 pristine white silk dress in red wine, ruin the professional photos, ruin the entire night, and then play the tearful, innocent victim who just had a clumsy moment in her expensive heels. I dropped my glass and sprinted toward them, shouting Chloe's name to break her focus. But the music was too loud and I was too far away. Chloe accelerated, her eyes fixed entirely on Maya. She raised the heavy glass slightly, angling her wrist, preparing for the fake trip. But karma, as they say, has a truly fantastic sense of timing. Chloe was so intensely focused on her target and her malicious plan that she completely ignored the floor beneath her feet. She failed to notice the thick, black, industrial cable running from the videographer's primary lighting rig directly across her intended path. She didn't have to fake a trip. She took a very real, very spectacular nosedive. Her 4-inch stiletto heel caught hard under the thick rubber casing of the cable. Her ankle rolled with a sickening snap that I could practically hear over the bass of the music. She pitched forward abruptly, her arms flailing wildly in an instinctual attempt to break her fall. In doing so, she launched the massive goblet of red wine straight up into the air like a geyser. Maya, hearing my shout and the sudden commotion behind her, instinctively took a startled step forward and to the left, completely clearing the blast zone just in the nick of time. The dark red wine reached its apex and came crashing down exactly as Chloe hit the hardwood floor. The entire contents of the glass splashed squarely onto Chloe's own back, neck, and shoulders, soaking her meticulously styled hair and instantly staining the expensive, light champagne fabric of her heavily beaded dress. The wine pooled around her on the floor, seeping rapidly into the intricate beadwork, the delicate tulle, and the expensive silk lining. A dead silence fell over that side of the room, followed immediately by a blood-curdling shriek. It wasn't a cry of physical pain from her twisted ankle. It was a scream of pure, unadulterated horror as Chloe looked down at herself. The dress was completely ruined. And worse, as she frantically scrambled to sit up, clawing at the wet fabric, the large, stiff, cardboard price tags she had so carefully tucked inside her neckline popped out. They were fully visible, dangling over her collarbone, and completely soaked in red wine. The black ink of the barcodes was visibly bleeding down the cardboard. There was absolutely no returning that dress now. I reached her just as she started sobbing hysterically, her expensive makeup smearing down her face in dark streaks. My dress is ruined. It's completely ruined," she wailed, thrashing on the floor like a toddler throwing a tantrum in the middle of a grocery store aisle. Maya stood a few feet away, her beautiful ivory gown absolutely pristine and untouched, looking down at my sister with a mixture of shock, confusion, and profound pity. My parents rushed over from their table, their faces pale with embarrassment. My mother immediately dropped to her knees to help Chloe up, but Chloe aggressively swatted her hands away, pointing a shaking, wine-stained finger directly at Maya. "She did this," Chloe screamed, her voice shrill, frantic, and echoing through the sudden quiet of the barn. "She moved on purpose. She wanted me to fall. She knew I was behind her." I stepped squarely between them, feeling my last shred of familial patience completely evaporate. "Are you completely out of your mind? Chloe, you tripped over a power cable while you were literally charging at my wife with a bucket of red wine. We all saw it. Half the room saw it. It's her videographer's cable. It's a tripping hazard." Chloe shrieked, tears and mascara streaming down her face as she clutched the ruined, tagged fabric to her chest. "You owe me $4,000. You have to pay for this dress right now." I didn't even dignify that with a response. I signaled the venue coordinator, who was already rushing over with 2 security guards. Get her out of here, I told my parents quietly, but with a finality that made my father flinch. Take her home, now, or I am having her officially escorted out by security, and I will let them call the police for a disturbance. My father, finally realizing the sheer extent of the public embarrassment, grabbed Chloe firmly by the arm, hauled her to her feet, and practically dragged her toward the exit while she limped and continued to scream obscenities and demand financial compensation. The venue staff, absolute professionals, quickly mopped up the mess. The DJ smoothly transitioned into a high-energy song to break the awkward tension, and the party resumed. Maya and I spent the rest of the night dancing, completely unbothered by the ghost of my sister's presence. The real legal and financial fallout happened the next morning. My phone blew up with dozens of frantic text messages from my mother, pleading with me to keep the peace in the family and help pay for the dress. She explained that Chloe's bank account was severely overdrawn and the high-end boutique was obviously refusing the return of a wine-soaked, tag-stained garment. Chloe even had the audacity to send me a lengthy, threatening email, claiming she was going to file a small claims lawsuit against Maya for gross negligence regarding the placement of the vendor cables, demanding $4,000 for the dress and $1,500 for medical bills for her sprained ankle. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I didn't even call them back. I simply contacted our videographer. He had multiple high-definition cameras set up on tripods around the perimeter of the dance floor to capture candid moments. I asked if any of his cameras had happened to catch the incident by the bar. He laughed through the phone and said, "Man, I have it from 3 different angles and crisp 4K resolution. I was wondering if you'd want to see it." He sent me a short compiled clip a few hours later. It was entirely damning. You could clearly see Chloe glaring at Maya, deliberately picking up the oversized glass instead of a normal wine glass, filling it to the brim, marching purposefully toward her with her eyes locked relentlessly on Maya's dress, and visibly raising her arm to throw the wine a fraction of a second before her foot caught the thick black cable. It was undeniable, legally defensible proof of premeditated malice and attempted property damage. I forwarded the video file to the family group chat, which included my parents, Chloe, and several aunts and uncles who had been gossiping about the incident all morning. I attached a very simple, legally minded message. If Chloe wants to take this completely fabricated negligence claim to a civil judge, I strongly encourage it. I'm sure the magistrate would love to see the multi-angle footage of her attempting to deliberately assault my wife and destroy a $12,000 piece of private property. If I hear one more word from anyone about the cost of that ruined dress, or if Chloe ever comes near Maya again, I will personally take this footage to the police and press formal charges for attempted property damage and harassment. Do not test me. The silence in the group chat was deafening. Nobody typed a single word in response. My parents never brought up the money again. I think they finally saw, in undeniable high definition, the toxic monster they had spent 26 years enabling. From what I heard through the family grapevine a few months later, Chloe's attempt to dispute the $4,000 charge with her credit card company failed miserably. The boutique provided documented evidence of the wine stains and the bled-out tags, and the bank sided firmly with the merchant, citing return policy fraud. Left entirely on the hook for the debt, Chloe was forced to take a minimum wage retail job at a local mall just to make the minimum monthly payments on a dress she wore for exactly 3 hours. As for Maya and me, we just celebrated our 2nd anniversary. Her pristine, unstained wedding dress is carefully preserved in a beautiful display box in our bedroom closet. A perfect memory of a perfect day. We went strictly no contact with Chloe after that night, and our lives have been remarkably peaceful ever since. Sometimes the trash takes itself out, and sometimes it trips over a wire and covers itself in cheap Merlot while doing it. Cheap Merlot